And Guzzy, thank you. Rejoined by Braylon Edwards, Corey Wootton. As Brandon Gaudin alluded to, so many storylines in this game that don't relate to anything that'll be happening on the field between Rutgers and Nebraska. So let's start with the impact that the firing of an athletic director has on a football program and compare it to the way that ADs impacted programs, if they impacted them at all when you guys were playing.
Yeah, I think today's game is a little bit different. You have social media. Everything gets out there. As soon as Shawn Eichorst sent that out, the players were able to read it. Everybody's able to see it. Now you see there's some type of dissension amongst your coach, amongst your AD, former AD that is. It wasn't like that when I played. Corey, you can attest to this. When we played, we knew, well, in us, it was Bill Martin. I knew who Bill Martin was. Didn't have any interaction with Bill Martin. All I knew was Lloyd was my coach. Lloyd calls the plays. I'm here for Lloyd. So when anything was going on from an administrative point of view, well, that goes on up house. Nothing to do with us down house. So now you read that, you see there's something there, it's distraction in your locker room. I think it's a lot harder for these players now when you see an AD fired because they're treated like rock stars. I mean, look at Dave Brandon at Michigan.
And they're paid like rock stars.
Look at Dave Brandon at Michigan.
Exactly. I agree with him. You know, when we played, I played a little bit after him, but it was the same kind of thing. You worried about your head coach. You worried about your coaching staff. You knew who the AD was, but it didn't make a difference for you because you're dealing with the coaches on a daily basis. And you see how much of a distraction it is for that Nebraska team that's already struggling. And that negative connotation to their program is just frustrating, you know, for the fan base, for the guys on the team. And you could tell that, you know, it's a big-time distraction.
I joked around about being paid like rock stars, but there's some truth in that because ADs are now making so much money that they feel a responsibility to answer questions. After the loss to Northern Illinois, Shawn Eichorst out there to the media just hours afterward talking about how disappointed he was with the program. To your point, that never happens 10, 15 years ago. You talk to coaches from 10, 15 years back, they say players used to play, coaches used to coach, and ADs used to administrate.
100%.
And they would love it if it would go back that way. That's not going to happen. 100%. So now you wonder, how does the trickle-down effect affect Nebraska on the field? And Tommy Armstrong came out with a tweet after Eichorst was fired, basically saying that when he fired Bo Pelini, he being Eichorst, he came to the team meeting with armed security and immediately lost all respect from the players. So you have that tweet about a guy who hired the head coach in charge of this program. I'm curious as to how you keep that negativity from seeping inside the locker room.
I think it's tough. You know, I think it's one of those situations where these things are going to get out there. These things are going to be seen. They're going to be read. And it's going to take a strong, strong locker room. It's going to take some senior players, some leadership players in key roles to come together and have a players-only meeting. You know about those. Exactly. You have those players-only meeting. You sit the team down there. It's all players. And you figure out what's best for you guys. What's best for you to have some success. Defense, offense, special team, on the field, off the field. What is it going to take? They're going to need a players-only meeting very, very soon.
Exactly. We're going to see what the leadership is like in the Nebraska locker room because the season's not over. It's still early on. They can turn this thing around. So we're going to see who the veteran guys are in charge and how they're going to get that meeting together, rally the troops, and take it one game at a time and improve and get better because they're a struggling team on both sides of the ball.
And it's not just the players. Sure, Mike Riley told Glenn Mason, I'm going to focus on this next game. We understand that, and it's still Mike Riley's job. But as we all know, one of the first things that an AD does when he gets a new job is to evaluate the football team. That's your moneymaker. A new AD typically wants his guy. How does Mike Riley avoid letting this be a distraction, Corey? How can he coach without feeling like there's a monkey on his back and someone is looking over his shoulder to evaluate him for not just this year, but 2018 and beyond?
I don't think you can. I think he is going to be looking on his shoulder, especially if the losses keep piling on. The biggest thing they can do is go out this week and have an impressive win against Rutgers, because if not, they're going to be calling for his firing the fan base. He's going to start to lose the locker room, and it's going to be an unfortunate situation in Nebraska.
Here's what I'm interested to see. This is the start of the Big Ten season. So
haven't played a conference game yet.
100%. So for him, it's a start over. It's a chance to right the wrongs. You know what? I'm going to start one game at a time. We have Rutgers. Rutgers has a lot of struggles. Rutgers has a lot of inconsistencies. Let's go out here. Let's get this win, and let's get this thing rolling. I can't worry about being fired. All I can worry about is Rutgers this week, the following game next week, the following game next week. And if something happens at the end of the season, then so be it. At least I put a good product out there. And now you can say, well, you know what? If you're another AD, I'll give this guy a chance. I like what he did with everything he was facing.
And obviously, the timing of that new AD will be critical. When is that new AD, the permanent AD, because we likely expect an interim AD to be named while they complete that search. Whenever the permanent AD is named, he's going to have to evaluate, decide if he wants to make a change or not. Meanwhile, there are dozens of really solid high school players out there, either juniors this year or seniors still undecided, trying to figure out if Nebraska is a place to go. Braylon, you have to think that this is not going to help as far as recruiting is concerned.
No, not at all. Parents are very smart nowadays. Parents do their homework. Parents understand that with an AD fired, with the coach already there, another AD coming in, that coach is probably going to get fired. I don't want to send my son to a school where he's probably going to have to play for a coach that didn't come to my living room. So with that being said, it's going to be interesting to see if they start to get some of those lesser recruits that may have went to a Wyoming, may have went to an Idaho, that had a lot of talent, but they went to those schools because other players were ranked a little bit above them. But now because of this situation, these guys can sneak into a Nebraska and be really good players.
Can I play devil's advocate for 1 second with you, Corey? Is there any chance that this could actually help in recruiting, especially if a change is made and a rock star comes in? I mean, this is a program that's, let's be honest, it's been forever since Nebraska won a conference championship. Could it almost be that recruiting bump that they haven't had in a little while?
It is, and I think if that happened, that situation, I think it would benefit them, because you look at the past 3 seasons, what they've done. You know, they went 1-2 for the first time since 1981, so they really have been struggling. So they need some kind of change in there, whether it's the AD to get that rock star, like you said, and then they'll evaluate the situation how Mike Riley does throughout the season. So it could be a negative thing right now, but it could turn out to be a positive.
And I think the good thing about it, like we talked about, one game at a time, the defense in Nebraska's actually played pretty decent.
Since the end of the first half against Oregon, they've been rock solid.
Played pretty decent. All you have to do is not all you have to do, but eliminate the turnovers by 10 or lead. And I think you script the game plan for him to do so.
I will say this about Mike Riley. I happen to think that Mike Riley is a terrific coach. You can argue whether he is the right fit there or not, but he is not a emotion on his sleeve kind of guy. He will stay even keel. He has been there, done that at multiple levels, the CFL, the NFL, couple of different college coaching jobs. He's not a guy who's going to go crazy, so he will keep that locker room calm. Whether he's able to keep that locker room from getting negative and get them to play better on the field, that is still to be proven, and that will likely have the biggest impact on what 2018 holds for the Huskers and the man right behind us.